this division between the art of the literati versus the art of the imperial court. We saw it beginning in the Yuan dynasty, and it continues and develops in the Ming dynasty. Some of the hallmarks of courtly aesthetics include the subjects. So as the textbook explains, this delightful painting of flowers and birds has a witty message of imperial hierarchy where the birds are bowing to the elegant peacocks. So it's a vision of, sort of subservience to and respect to the emperor. The materials are also courtly because they are rich, luxurious, splendid, and they require very sophisticated techniques to make them, right? Silk and the painting on silk in rich colors, all of that is a very fine craft. The detailed nature of the painting, where you can actually identify what species of birds, right? These are magpies, peacocks. You can identify what kind of peonies. This is a show of skill, a show of virtuoso prowess with colors, brush forms, incredibly illusionistic details of the leaves, the bark, the different kinds of blossoms, the different kinds of wings and feathers. So court paintings are made by professional artists who are working for pay. Remember, Nizan made a big point of how he was not going to take money for his careless little sketches while he was wandering around and rambling about in nature. When you're dealing with luxury materials like silk, created for the emperor, this is not a job for amateurs. These are highly trained professionals because control and elegance are prized. Details have to be absolutely perfect. Everything has to be a statement of the imperial majestic glory. So the Ming emperors were very powerful and lived in great splendor, but they were not necessarily didn't necessarily have the most refined cultural tastes. They were ruffians, usurpers, and they were often weak victims of court intrigue. So they wanted art that we could say is flashy and impressive. And the scholars do not have those kind of tastes. But at the time of the Ming dynasty, the scholars are not in power, really, because the eunuchs have become wickedly powerful. And they have really kind of pushed aside the scholars. So the idea of eunuchs serving in the imperial court goes way back in China's history. And this is a Tang Dynasty tomb painting that shows a group of eunuchs. So eunuchs were one of the servants within the imperial system. They were not so numerous or powerful prior to the Ming dynasty because the scholar officials had been the major sort of network of power officials that served the emperor. But they had lost that prime place. And Spring Dawn in the Han Palace is a great example of court painting, not only for the exquisite skill of the figurative painting, the treatment of space, but also in terms of subject matter. We are literally seeing a vision of life as it was imagined to be in the Han Dynasty Palace. So a kind of a past golden age of Chinese culture is being cited here. And you see the delicate, elegant ladies doing their courtly tasks that elegant ladies do in the imperial system. Notice how different that is from Shen Zhou's literati ink painting, Poet on a Mountaintop, right? And so here he is in the Ming Dynasty, and he's continuing the tradition of Nizan. We see the calligraphy, his poem. What we also see is that he is showing himself off in nature, alone in nature, in fact, unlike this vision of society, of high status society, where the ladies are interacting. And one of the themes that emerges, that separates literati painting from court painting, is the idea of personal experience, personal expression, and personal authority, versus here in Spring Dawn in the Han Palace, the authority of the past, of tradition, of established techniques. So Shenzhou's painting is plain black and white on paper, simple, humble materials, and it is a literati statement in every sense of the word, because it includes literature. It includes his gorgeous calligraphy, which does seem to sort of like fall like rain, and that calligraphy is a poem. And it says, "White clouds, like a scarf, enfold the mountain's waste. Stone steps hang in space, a long, narrow path. Alone, leaning on my cane, I gaze intently at the scene and feel like answering the murmuring brook with the music of my flute." Notice he specifies his solitude. He is alone. He's taken a long, narrow path out into nature. And he is, in a sense, communing with the Tao, with the space and flow of nature, of clouds, of water, the growth and the sound of the brook. And he speaks of feeling like answering it. So as if the poetry of place and of nature is being transmuted through his experience into his poetry. So there's a sense of invention and of discovery. And that sense of invention and discovery become very important as literati painting develops in the Ming Dynasty and becomes something that is theorized by a great artist and thinker, Dong Qichang. It is turned into a kind of philosophy of aesthetics. And that's what we will look at next.